Hi, my children. Mabel Rose Thompson here. I am 103 years old. In 2 months, I will be 104 years old, and I have not listened to a doctor in over 30 years. Now, before you roll your eyes and click away, let me say something to you plainly. I am not telling you to be foolish. I am not telling you to ignore a broken leg or a gunshot wound. That's what emergency rooms are for, and I thank God for them. What I am telling you is this: when it comes to how to live, what to eat, how to age, how to stay sharp and strong and present in this world, the medical establishment has been wrong about almost everything. And I have the evidence standing right in front of you. May I have buried 7 doctors, 7 smart men, every one of them, diplomas on the wall, initials after their names, very serious shoes. They looked at my chart, they looked at me, and they told me I was going to die if I kept doing what I was doing. That was 40 years ago. They are in the ground. I am on camera talking to you, so maybe, just maybe, it's worth hearing what I have to say. I was 71 years old when Dr. Harold Greer told me I needed to go on statins. Cholesterol was too high, he said. Heart attack risk, he said. He showed me a chart with numbers and arrows and very alarming shading in the red zones. I said, Dr. Greer, my grandmother lived to 94. My mother lived to 91. They both ate eggs and beef every single day of their lives. Not one of them ever took a statin. Not one of them died of a heart attack. He looked at me like I was a senile old woman who couldn't understand medicine. I looked at him like he was a young man who hadn't yet learned humility. He put me on the pills anyway. I took them for 3 months. My legs ached like I'd been running through mud. I couldn't think straight. I felt like someone had put gauze between my brain and the rest of the world. So I stopped. I threw them in the trash, the whole bottle, and I went back to eating my eggs. Dr. Greer died at 74. Ironically, heart attack. I'm still here, still eating my eggs, thinking clearer than most 50-year-olds I meet. That was the moment I decided I would listen to my body before I listened to any man in a white coat. Let me walk you through the parade of things medicine has told us over the last 100 years. Things I have personally lived through and what actually happened. Fat will kill you. That was the gospel of the 1960s and 70s. They told us to stop eating butter, stop eating meat, stop eating anything with fat in it. Replace it with margarine and vegetable oil and carbohydrates. We did exactly that. And then everyone got fat. Diabetes rates exploded. Heart disease got worse, not better. They had no explanation. Did they say we were wrong? No. They sold us a new diet. Salt is dangerous. For 40 years, they told us to limit sodium, eat bland food, watch your blood pressure. I have salted my food my entire life. Real salt, not that iodized powder they sell in the blue cylinder. Good coarse salt from the earth. My blood pressure at 103 years old is 118/74. My cardiologist, the latest one, bless his heart, stared at my chart for a full minute without saying anything. Then he said, I genuinely don't understand this. I said, I know. That's why I stopped listening. Red meat causes cancer. They've been saying this since the 1980s. Study after study, headlines after headlines. Red meat is linked to this, associated with that, correlated with the other thing. I have eaten a pound of beef almost every day since 1963, 60 years of supposed cancer risk. Not one tumor, not one malignancy. Blood work clean as a river stone. The people I watched get cancer, and I've watched many. The ones who got it young, the ones who got it hard. They were eating cereal for breakfast and low-fat yogurt for lunch and some kind of processed nutrition bar at 3 in the afternoon. I'm not saying food is the only factor. I am saying that the things they told us to fear were not the enemy. Cholesterol is the enemy. This is the one that started it all. This is the big lie that launched a $1 trillion industry. Your body makes cholesterol. It makes it deliberately. Your brain is 60% fat and runs on cholesterol. Your hormones are made from cholesterol. Every single cell membrane in your body is built from cholesterol. When they told us to lower our cholesterol by any means necessary, what they were really saying without knowing it was, interfere with your body's most fundamental processes. Override the system that kept human beings alive for 200,000 years before anyone had a medical degree. I watched friends go on those medications. I watched their memories go. I watched their muscles waste. I watched some of them shuffle into old age, confused and weak. And the doctors called it normal aging. It was not normal aging. It was what happens when you systematically deprive a human brain of what it needs to function. I'm 103. Do you understand what that means? It means I was born in 1922. I was a young woman during World War II. I lived through the Depression, the Civil Rights Movement, the moon landing, the fall of the Berlin Wall, the rise of the Internet, a global pandemic. I have watched medicine change its mind over and over and over again. The things they were certain about in 1960, they abandoned by 1980. The things they were certain about in 1980, they quietly stopped mentioning by 2000. The things they told everyone in 2000 they're now admitting were probably wrong. And yet every single decade they deliver their recommendations with the same absolute confidence, the same authority, the same condescension toward anyone who questions them. At some point you have to ask yourself, what is the track record here? If a financial advisor lost your money every decade but kept promising you he knew what he was doing, how long would you keep giving him your money? I stopped giving them my trust around 1991, and the last 30 years have been the best of my life. When my current doctor, a young woman named Dr. Vasquez, sharp as a tack and at least humble enough to be curious, looks at my blood work, she gets a very specific look on her face. It is the look of someone whose model of the world is not quite working. She cannot explain my inflammation markers, which are lower than most 40-year-olds she sees. She cannot explain my cognitive scores. I do a test every year. They look for signs of decline. Every year, they find none. She told me last spring, Mrs. Thompson, whatever you're doing, keep doing it. First sensible thing a doctor has said to me in decades. She cannot explain my bone density. Women my age, the few who make it to my age, they break. Hips, wrists, vertebrae, they crumble. I fell in my garden last year, tripped over a root, went down hard on that same hip they tried to tell me would be gone by now. I got up, brushed off my knees, finished planting my tomatoes. Not a fracture, not even a bruise that lasted more than a week. Dr. Vasquez said, "That is genuinely extraordinary." I said, "That's what 50 years of real food and refusing bad advice looks like." Let me be specific, because I am not just telling you to rebel against doctors for the sake of it. I replaced their advice with something, a way of living that I worked out over decades of paying attention to my own body. I eat real food, only real food. If it came from the earth or from an animal, I'll eat it. If it was manufactured, processed, engineered, fortified, or invented in the last 100 years, I'll leave it on the shelf. My 4 foods, the eggs, the beef, the potatoes, the raw milk. I've told that story before, but the principle behind it is simple. Food that has existed for 10,000 years has been tested. Your ancestors ate it and survived long enough to have children who eventually had you. That is the most rigorous clinical trial in human history. A granola bar that was invented in 1978 and has 47 ingredients that has not been tested. You are the test. I do not take pills to manage numbers. If a doctor shows me a number and says this is high, my first question is always, am I sick? Do I feel sick? Do I have symptoms? A number on a piece of paper is not a disease. It is a data point. Data points need context. I have chosen to trust the evidence of my own body, my energy, my clarity, my strength, my mood over the evidence of what some chart says I should measure at my age. I move every day simply. I walk, I garden. I do not have a gym membership or a fitness app or a step counter. I go outside and I move my body in the ways it was designed to move, bending, lifting, carrying, walking on uneven ground. They try to make exercise complicated. It is not complicated. Your body is designed to move. Move it every day outside if at all possible. I sleep like sleep is sacred because it is. I go to bed when the light dies down. I get up when the sun rises. I do not fight it with blue screens and stimulants and alarm clocks set for hours that were never meant for human beings. Sleep is when your brain cleans itself. Sleep is when your body repairs itself. Sleep is when your memories consolidate and your immune system rebuilds. Every doctor who ever told a patient they could get by on 5 or 6 hours a night was giving dangerous advice. I have never once in 103 years been proud of staying up late. Sleep is not laziness. Sleep is medicine. I have people, real people. My great-granddaughter Celeste calls me every Tuesday. My neighbor Herb, he's only 79. Practically a child comes by every Thursday to sit on the porch. My church community, the women in my garden club, you cannot eat your way to 103. I am certain of that. I have known healthy eaters who died at 65 with no one in the room. Connection is not optional. It is not a luxury. It is as essential as protein and as non-negotiable as sleep. I have something to do. My garden, my letters, my great-grandchildren I am teaching to read. The woman across the street who needs someone to listen to her on bad days. People ask me what my secret is, and they want me to say something about a superfood. The real answer is simpler and harder than that. I have never once in my adult life not had a reason to get up in the morning. Purpose is the longest-lived nutrient there is. Stop outsourcing your judgment. You were given a body that has 3.5 billion years of evolution behind it. It knows things. It is talking to you constantly through your energy, your digestion, your sleep, your mood, your cravings, your pain, and you ignore all of it because some person with credentials told you a number on a piece of paper means you need to take a pill for the rest of your life. Pay attention to your body, not obsessively. Don't spend your life anxious about every symptom. But listen, notice, learn the difference between this doesn't feel right and I'm just uncomfortable with change. Question what you're told, not rudely, not dismissively, but as a person who has a stake in the answer. When a doctor tells you something, it is appropriate to say why. What's the evidence? What are the alternatives? What are the side effects? What happens if I do nothing? Any doctor worth their degree will welcome those questions. Any doctor who gets offended by them has told you something important about whether to trust their advice. And eat real food. For the love of everything, eat real food. Eat. Stop eating things your great-grandmother would not recognize as food. Stop drinking colored sugar water and calling it a meal replacement. Stop putting chemicals in your body every single day and wondering why you feel like garbage by 40. Go back to simple eggs, meat, vegetables from the ground, fruit from trees, milk from cows who ate grass in the sunshine. That is not radical. That is what human beings have eaten since the beginning. We are the experiment. We are the generation that decided to replace 10,000 years of food wisdom with 60 years of processed convenience. And we are getting the results of that experiment in every hospital, in every city in the world. Here's where I will be fair, because I believe in being fair even when I am angry. Medicine saved my daughter's life when she had a ruptured appendix in 1954. Without that surgery, she dies. She goes on to have 4 children. Those 4 children go on to have 11 grandchildren who are the lights of my life. Medicine is extraordinary at crisis intervention. Infections, injuries, emergencies, diagnostics, surgery. These are genuine miracles of the modern world. I do not dismiss them. What I dismiss is the creep of medicine into the territory of life, into the decisions about how to eat, how to age, how to feel, what is normal and what is pathological. When medicine tries to manage life rather than save it, when it turns natural human conditions into diagnosis and normal aging into a pharmaceutical opportunity, that is where I walked away. And at 1:03, I am at peace with that decision. I do not know how much time I have left. It could be years, it could be months, it could be less. What I know is this: I have not spent my last 30 years in waiting rooms. I have not spent them counting pills or reading warning labels or worrying about drug interactions. I have spent them in my garden with my family and my community, eating food I know and trust, sleeping when the earth tells me to sleep, moving in the ways my body asks me to move. I have lived the last third of my life by my own lights, and every doctor who told me that would kill me is dead. I am not saying this to be cruel to their memory. I'm saying it because I'm living proof that the body, your body, is more resilient, more intelligent, and more capable of extraordinary longevity than the system has any financial interest in admitting. They need you sick. They need you dependent. They need you coming back every 3 months for another test, another prescription, another referral, another COA. I am not their customer anymore. And look at me. 103 years old, mind intact, standing on my own 2 feet, heart full of love, head full of memories, hands still capable of pulling weeds from a garden bed in the morning light. Stop waiting for a doctor to tell you how to live. The knowledge is older than they are. It lives in real food, real rest, real connection, real purpose. It lives in a body that is listened to rather than overridden. It lives in a spirit that has forgiven what needs forgiving and held close what deserves to be held. That's the whole prescription. And the only side effect is a long, full life.